I want to talk to you today about open doors. A door is an opportunity. It's something that has been granted unto you. Jesus said in Revelation chapter 3, verse 8, I know your works. See, I have set before you an open door, and no man can shut it. Notice something about this door. Jesus says, I have set it before you. It is He that put the door there. And He says, when I open it, no man can shut it. What is a door? When you picture a door, there's always on the left and the right a wall. And the wall is what keeps us from whatever is on the other side. But the door is there to give us passageway from this side to the other side. And when Jesus says, I have set before you a door, He lets us know that there was a wall there and you couldn't get past this place you are now. But I have set the door there and I've opened it so that you can go to the other side. One thing we need to know about doors, which are opportunities, is that doors are not always open forever. Doors are seasonal. I'll use the word gate and door here interchangeably because it has the same purpose. If you've ever been to one of those apartments that have gates, or maybe a business that has a gate that requires a code, you know that when that gate opens, it doesn't stay open very long. The moment it opens, it immediately starts its way back to closing, and you have to get through in a timely manner. Sometimes a door is open to you and it's wide open, and yet it is not going to stay wide open for long because life takes us through seasons and we have to seize the opportunities that God gives us when He gives them. Most doors are seasonal. There are things that you can do right now that you will not be able to do later. There are things that you can do right now that you were not able to do before. Life takes us through the ebb and the flow, and God is the one who can open and close doors in our life. I'll show you a couple of examples. In 1 Corinthians 16, Paul is talking in verse 5 through 7 about desiring to come and see the Corinthians. And he says, I'm going to try to make a way to come and see you guys, and not just come and see you, but I want to spend some time with you. But then he tells them, but I'm not coming anytime soon. Verse 8, but I will tarry in Ephesus until Pentecost, that's a feast. For a great and effective door has opened to me, and there are many adversaries. Notice he says, I would come to you, I long to come to you, I desire to come to you, and I want to come and spend some great time with you, months even, but I'm not coming yet because God has opened unto me a great and effective door. A great door. When you have a great door, that means you have an opportunity of a lifetime. You have something big that has been open to you, that it's an opportunity you can't refuse. It's a door that is great and effective, and it would allow you to do more in this opportunity than you would have been able to do in any other opportunity given to you. This is when God gives you something that even your education couldn't prepare you for, your background, your pedigree couldn't prepare you for, your knowledge level, your own human connections. There is no way any of that could have opened this for you because it is a great and effective door that God has opened, that only God could have opened, and it's going to cause tremendous results. And that's what Paul is saying. I'm not coming yet to visit you guys because God has opened a great opportunity for the sake of the gospel. And then you have Colossians chapter 4, verse 3. There's another door. There's a door called the Door of Utterance. And this is a door that we actually can pray for. We're encouraged to pray for it, actually. And Colossians 4:3, we'll start at verse 2. Continue earnestly in prayer, being vigilant in it with thanksgiving. Meanwhile, praying also for us that God would open to us a door of utterance, a door for the word, to speak the mystery of Christ, for which I am also in chains, that I may make it manifest as I ought to speak. He says, pray that God will give me utterance, that He will give me a door of utterance, that He will give me an opportunity to speak this gospel. Sometimes God will just open a door out of nowhere, and you have to be prepared for that door. I was in Ecuador not too long ago, and my host that was we were traveling with, he decided to drop by a radio station, and he had some connections at the radio station. And I wasn't really thinking except that we were just with him and that we would meet some people. And he gave me an opportunity. He says, "Hey, would you like to speak on the radio?" Well, sure. When? Thinking that I would have time to gather my thoughts or at least come back another time, or we would set a date in the near future since we were going to be there for a while in that country. And he says, "Right now." Oh, wow. And I literally had 30 seconds to gather my thoughts before he put the mic in my face. And I was speaking over the radio station. I don't know how many people could hear me, hundreds, thousands, I don't know. But I had 30 seconds to prepare, to speak a word of encouragement. And that's what he said, give a word of encouragement to the nation. And I just spoke what I felt God had put inside of me, but literally no time to gather my thoughts. That was a door of utterance that was granted to me. I've prayed for opportunities to be able to speak, but I really wasn't thinking it would come so quickly. But that's how it often happens. God will just give you an opportunity to speak. Sometimes it doesn't happen so suddenly. Sometimes it's just a matter of there are people in their lives that are maybe they're not open to the gospel. They're not really open. They're resistant. But there comes a moment in their life, and you can see it. You can tell this is a moment where God is giving you a door of utterance. Maybe they ordinarily wouldn't listen to you, but there's a moment in their life where they call you and say, "Hey, can I talk to you about something? Something's on my mind." And then you have an opportunity to share with them something that you've never been able to share with them before because they weren't open to receiving it at that time. You know, there are nations that are closed to the gospel. There are people that are closed to the gospel. Their heart is just not in the right place to receive that word. But we should always pray for God to give us in their lives a door of utterance, an opportunity to speak. We don't want to speak out of time, because you can speak at the wrong time into somebody's life. Sometimes God will give you a word to share with them, but he doesn't want you to share it today. God could give it to you today, but he's waiting for you to have the wisdom to know when to share it, because just because you know what to say does not mean that God has given you the door of utterance. And we want to make sure that we seize that moment when God opens that opportunity for us, because it can come suddenly or it can come with preparation and time. Either way, we need to be ready for those doors of utterance that God grants us. And along with that, there's another kind of door the Bible calls the door of faith, and that's found in the book of Acts. Acts chapter 14. The Bible says in verse 27, "Now when they had come and gathered the church together, they reported all that God had done with them." They're testifying, they've gone on their missionary journeys, and they're coming back and they're all sharing what happened on their various journeys, this whole group of missionaries. And they're sharing what God has done. And that he had opened the door. They said, let me just read it again. "Now when they had come together, the church, and reported all that God had done with them, and that he had opened the door of faith to the Gentiles." God had opened the door of faith to the Gentiles. And that's what I was saying about nations who are sometimes closed. But God can open the door for a nation, because there are certain nations, depending on their governmental status, they're anti-church or anti-missionary organization or anti-proselytizing or just anti-God, period. There are nations that are anti-God. Believe it or not, there are nations in this world that have very few churches or no churches at all. It's hard to fathom in the country that I live in, America, because we have churches on every corner in some places. We have mega churches, we have medium churches, we have small churches, but there are countries and there are villages and cities and towns where there are no churches, or only a handful, or only a few, because the gospel is not very free to be preached openly in some of these countries. And when God gives an opportunity, a door of faith, that's what it's called, a door of faith, then we want to make sure we're able to seize that door of faith, because people are in some times where they're just not open to believe. They're not open to receive what God has for them. But God will grant to every man the opportunity and the door of faith, should they be able to walk in it. Remember, Jesus says, I've set before you an open door. I want us to take advantage of the open doors that God gives us, because God will give us many opportunities to preach his gospel and to do his work. But I want to caution you on one thing, because a lot of times we go with the green light and the red light, and we say, if it's a red light, I need to stop. If it's a green light, I need to go. And that's true, especially in the natural when you're driving a car. But spiritually, every green light is not necessarily a God light. Every go is not a God go. We have to be very careful that we understand and we weigh the opportunities that are given to us and make sure it is the right time, it is the right season, and that we have the right people with us, and that it is the right moment in the wisdom of God. Because just because it's open, and even just because it's open by the Lord, doesn't mean this is his time for you to do it. In 2 Corinthians chapter 2, verse 12, the Bible says, Paul talking says, furthermore, when I came to Troas to preach Christ's gospel, and a door was opened to me by the Lord. That sounds powerful. I had no rest in my spirit. Paul says, I had a door that was open. It was opened by the Lord, and yet in my spirit there was an unrest. I just didn't feel right about this opportunity, because I did not find Titus my brother, but taking my leave of them, I departed for Macedonia. He didn't have the right people. He didn't have his brother with him that he wanted to have with him. He didn't have his brother Titus with him. It's actually a spiritual brother, and a spiritual son. He didn't have him with him. He didn't have what he needed to take advantage of this opportunity. And so he went to another place that God had opened. Sometimes God will open an opportunity for you to see how you will handle it. And sometimes we need to make that a matter of prayer. But God will give us that peace in our spirit, or that unrest in our spirit, to help us to know how we are to handle each opportunity that comes to us. Example, you may get 2 job offers, and one of them is paying an amazing amount of money, and you're like, whoa, I want that one, because that's the opportunity. And the other one, though it doesn't pay as much, actually is a better opportunity that will help you fulfill your purpose and will give you greater satisfaction even than the one that pays more. And you will know, even though God has opened both opportunities for you, because promotion does not come from the east or west or from the south, but from the Lord. So when an opportunity of a job opens up to you, it is the Lord who may have opened it up to you, but he also wants you to make it a matter of prayer, because even though you have these 2 opportunities, only one of them is going to be good for you. And you may feel that this one is alluring and attractive because it has all the bells and whistles, and yet there is an unrest in your spirit about that opportunity. Like, it's not the one I should take. And then you got to go on down the road to the next opportunity that God has opened for you. We have to be very careful. God is the one who sets the door before us, but we need to also have his wisdom about how we approach that door and how we enter that door. The green light of God is indeed the green light of God when we have the mind of God and the heart of God concerning that opportunity. So in summary, I want you to pray for opportunities. Pray for the opportunity to have divine utterance, to preach the gospel. Pray for people in your life to have the door of faith open to them. Pray for God to open great doors for your life and for your ministry and for your career. It is great and proper to pray for an open door. But even when that door is open, continue to pray about that door to make sure that it is indeed the door that you should avail yourself to. Because as Paul shows us, every open door doesn't necessarily need us to enter. God bless you. Seek the face of God, and may God open to you a great opportunity for the gospel.